Welcome back to another Palm Wine Central podcast in collaboration with Stuck in Mid Podcast Book Club Review. I'm one of your hosts, Uncle AK. With me, I got my good hostess. This man, I think you just passed me today. Anyways, Mane, what's good with you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to the discussion. I'm excited about it.
What's the opposite of host for women?
Co-host,
Co-host. They
hostess.
don't. Oh, there you go, hostess, right? Okay, that's what I was trying to pronounce, and then yeah. But anyways, T, what's good with you?
I'm good. Let's cue this book.
Cool. Barbara, what's good with you?
Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome back. I am excited about this book. I can have a lot to dive into. So I am excited.
Yeah, so today we are unpacking Kennedy's Ryan Before I Let Go, a novel. It is a novel that T brought to us T with the T, if that makes sense to you. You know what I mean? This book. But anyways, a novel that's layered and satisfying as a vintage bottle of wine. I want to say palm wine, but a lot of you don't know palm wine. So we're just gonna go with wine. This is a story of second chances, healing, accountability, and the courage to rebuild love after it's been broken. So grab your glass, settle in, and let's dive into this rich and emotional journey together. Let's try this, right? Picture this, picture this. A James Brett nominated chef and a Grammy winner composer, once married, now divorced, are forced to confront their past when tragedy brings them together. As their precious daughter, unresolved grief and intoxicating world of food and music, and the intoxicating world of food and music. And you've got a story that explores what happens when love gets a second chance at first place. Hopefully that made a little sense, but that's a little synopsis of the book. So let's unpack it. But we're going to start like this with an icebreaker. Therese and Barbara, I'll give you guys this first one. If the book were a flavor of wine or any drink of your choice, what would it be and why?
Oh God. For somebody like me that does not drink, let me see. Okay, so Moscato, because it is sweet, it is savory. To me, it's smooth because that's the only wine I can tolerate. And somewhere in the middle of the book, it gets you, it's a little bit spicy in there. And when I drink wine, it gets me spicy. So that's what I'll describe the book as.
I would say gin.
Isn't that extreme? Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Why?
Because
Sorry.
because gin will make you sin, right? Gin, that's what they say. Gin, it's strong,
Mm-hmm.
like the story. It does get you intoxicated. It doesn't go down as easy. And when it's down, it causes you to act sometimes out of character. So
I can see that. I can see that. Man, it seems as if you want to take that one too soon as well.
Well, I don't drink either, so I'll go with Babs. The only wine I can tolerate is Moscato. But given the way T described the gin, I don't know the feeling
Listen,
of gin, but it sounds about right.
I'm like, can I take mine back and just go what he said?
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
it.
As she brought
So
the
is
book
it
to her, she would know better.
is it like a glass or two of gin? Like how much gin are we talking about here?
we're talking as much as you can tolerate, right?
Hey.
Is that bad?
Hey.
Okay.
It's not
Okay.
bad.
We
It's
gonna get
just
into
like
it.
it's accommodating, you know?
Mhm. For all the gin lovers out there, right? Please help us, right? I'm trying to understand. How much can you drink to the point where you can say, "Oh, your body's nice"? Like, how many cups can you take till you say, "Yo, I'm nice"? Because for me, it's just one, and the second one is blackout. So I don't know about
Yeah, I
y'all,
was
but
gonna say
you
like
know.
maybe for
So
shots I can do maybe three shots.
And then you're feeling
okay,
your senses too.
I mean, if you're taking the shot right, you're not feeling it immediately. Take that into consideration. Now, if you're sipping a glass, that's different. It creeps in. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't know. Gin is the only thing that I've taken and it hits me immediately. It's like clockwork.
I mean, it does. Like I said, it doesn't go down easy. It burns.
Mhm.
So when you
What's
take 3, it's a wrap. That's it for the night.
So by the time you get to 3, you're not functional. Or are you still functional? Because I'm just like,
You might start feeling some things.
Oh, okay.
This book, it was like that, right? You got to a point, you're like, oh,
Oh,
okay, it's hidden, it's hidden. So that's
That the
Just
slogan
hope
for
not to
the
forget.
slogan the slogan is "Gin will make you sin." So
Okay.
yes.
mm.
Yeah. Okay. So, with that, then, what was your gut reaction after turning the final page, Mane?
Um, it was an exhaling feeling because from the beginning, I had the question of why are they not together, and it took so long to actually come out. But even before getting to the end, the whole the way it unfolded after them sharing, why they're no longer together and all of that, it was okay. They got back together and they stayed together because for some reason I thought that they got together and then they separated again, and I was not looking forward to that option. But when I got to the end, I was like, okay, good, it's done, and hopefully this is the end and there is no sequel to this because the entire book, that book was long, what, 17 hours. I mean, I was done in like a week, but it was a long book.
Did you multiply your pages by 3?
I don't know. It's not 17 hours. I don't know.
No, I
It's
think it's
that
like
long.
10. It's not like
10?
10, or yeah, it's not like 10 to
I
11
know the
hours.
part that was
Yeah.
long for her. She rewind. She rewind
It was
that
like
part.
13.
I know the part where you
The
rewind.
book was like, I was like,
It's
you're not
short.
done yet? Nope, it wasn't. So, yeah, it just felt
Oh,
forever.
wow. Anybody got a different reaction to that, turning that final page that manner?
I did not see it ending because when it ended, I was like, wait, that's it?
How come? Explain.
It was a pleasant surprise. I listened to the audio. So when it ended, the next thing I heard was closing credit. And I literally yelled, wait, that's it?
You wanna watch it?
You were not ready.
No, I wanted more. And they were just like,
That's it.
just like they cut you off with drinks. It was just like, they didn't even announce last hour. It's just the lights
That's
came
it.
on. And I was like,
So wait, hold on, real quick, right? Show of hands. If you loved it, well, if you loved it, raise your hand. If you hate it, keep your hand down. And if you're in between, put both hands up. So,
Okay.
yeah. Wait, how can you say, okay, you're in between because the book ended early? Then I guess. Wait, why are you two in between? I guess Barbara, you go.
well, you said we should show if we loved it,
If we
right?
love, we put both hands up.
Oh, one hand up if you loved it.
One
Both
hand
hands
up if
if
you
you're in
loved it.
between.
Both hands in between, and then if you hate it, put your
Oh,
hand
shoot,
down.
my
That's
bad.
how
I heard the
I English in
opposite.
school.
I got carried away.
All right, let's
I
do this
love
again.
it.
Show of hands. Which one you picking? If you loved it, one hand up. If you hated it, don't put any hand up. If you're in between, both hands up. So let's go. I bet. Okay. So, I know we don't really deep dive into characters like that, but let's discuss characters, right? Each and every one of us should pick one. I guess I'll go first. I'll talk about a daughter. What's the daughter's name? Deja?
Deja, yes.
Deja, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters of the book, just because she was being a typical kid, and it really helped, filling gaps within the book. I mean, made it longer, and I did appreciate the fact that she was, just being a teenager, man. Like what most teenagers are these days, and it was just nice to find a teenager that's just a regular teenager. So I guess that was one of my favorite characters. So, Mane.
I love the guy. I've forgotten his name. I just love his vulnerability because
Josiah.
Messiah. Like it doesn't. I haven't come across too many black men who are open to sharing their hurt the way that he did in the book, or the way that the character did in the book, and willing to go to therapy for his son's sake, which he ended up liking it. I was just like, more Josiah, please. Yeah, I love it.
Nice. T.
I'll go with the typical route. I think Jasmine. I'll pick Jasmine. Her just I think more I'll pick her just for the ending of the book where she put her ego down. That was the sexiest thing ever. I don't want to give more details and risk going ahead of myself, but I'll leave it at that.
Ego. We're going to touch on that definitely, most def. So better hold your points tight because we unpack that ego part. Barbara.
I have questions about that ego part, so I'm looking forward to it. But can I pick for the one character? Because I got an extra like that.
No, pick one.
What is the friend's name?
The one that you are?
I mean, the one that you are?
Yes.
Hendrix?
Yeah, oh Hendrix, yes. She talks like me. Her expressions and how she talks. You just I'm like that's some shit I would say. 100%. But yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, so there is you guys mentioned Yasmin, Shazire. What was that one again?
What's the
Tidra?
chef's name?
Deja.
Deja.
Oh,
So
Deja.
that's a
Okay,
daughter.
that's a daughter. So the other characters,
Kazim, the son.
his
Hasim,
son, Kasim.
Hendrix,
Then the other girl, the
the
other
chef.
friend,
What's the chef's name?
Soledad,
is
and
the other friend.
So that is the friend, the chef who played the girl.
I forgot her name.
I forgot your
Lord.
name. Oh Lord.
Might
Anyways,
have
yeah.
many because I want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have like, somewhere on the screen here, all the characters in the book, you guys can share yourself with. But yeah, there's a chef, who was kind of sort of, entanglement with Sire, but later on they broke it off. And then there is the mother of Jasmine, who played a very pivotal part in the book as well. Yeah, the two children, the son and the daughter, and then of two friends. And yeah, anyways, now that you guys got it, let's deep dive. So, you guys ready? Barbara, Yasmin and Josiah's journey intertwine while remaining deeply personal, right? Which moments within the book make their grief and their feelings more authentic, in your opinion or your view?
I think there were many instances. Just right, I don't know, for me personally, right from the jump, from the beginning of the book. When she went to the restaurant to drop off the kids, the interaction there. When she saw him with it, I cannot remember the chef's name.
Who said the female chef? She was the only
She was a
one that
female
had
chef.
that
It's like it's at the tip of my tongue. When she got into the picture, like every interaction, Kennedy Ryan, whoever the writer was, or whoever narrated the book, did a wonderful job expressing how each character felt, because you could feel it when you read it. To me, I think the pivotal moment, the one that a lot of people can relate to, was when they were in North Carolina. Was Charlotte? Yes, not the sex part, but when they actually had a conversation and she sat down and then they had that intense conversation. He finally expressed how he felt about the losing of the baby. Because he kept saying he cannot let her back in for a couple of reasons, but he always said it to his friends and everybody, and he spoke to himself, but he actually said it to her at that point in time. This is why I cannot let you, and this is what's going to be. So I think that was authentic, but I think every interaction between both of them it did show that. So
Yep. The name you're looking for is Vashti.
But thank you, Vashti.
Mm-hmm.
My girl, Vashti.
I think for me, my favorite scene was, not scene, whatever they call it in the book, scene, right? was at the end of it all, when they started sneaking around and they had that conversation in the closet. That to me, do I go into detail? I don't want to ruin anything.
No, go ahead, because
You go into detail, yeah.
Because we're wondering why that's your favorite. Like, why the sneaky link part?
Not the sneaky link part. The kids had already found out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she asked, to me, that was the defining moment of their spinning the block story. Because I feel like if they did not have that part, if she was not as vulnerable as she was, they would never have gotten back together. They would not have. So that to me was the core of the entire book. Like everything, that moment right there just tied everything together.
Yeah.
I see you in disbelief that manner.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious. But I'm
like, go ahead.
I think that getting back together was majority in part to the fact that Josiah went to therapy.
Mm,
Because I think him being able to express how he felt, what him learning how to express how he felt and how to receive what she was feeling was facilitated by therapy. Because prior to that, he had no plans of letting her back in.
mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
But let me put this to you before you continue. Don't you think, yes, it made their communication better, but don't you think that if she did not put her ego aside, she literally, and I don't want this to sound bad, but she literally begged for her man back. I think, to me, despite all the therapy and everything that had, which worked wonders for them, right? That part right there was what had Josiah in spinning. His head was spinning and drove straight to the therapist's office, right? I feel like if she did not open up and actually voice that, I want you to move back in, please. I feel like if she did not have that moment, he still would have been on the fence. I think her expressing that desire is what I should say.
Don't you think that she got to the point of being able to express certain things because she knew that he was getting help and he could hear her from a different perspective?
True. But still, remember that he was the one who was new to therapy. And that vulnerability did not come from him. It came from her. She initiated it. That's why I'm saying that moment of her being completely vulnerable, right? And even herself, she went to therapy before, but she had never been that vulnerable about so many things. So I feel like the moment she let her guard down and she decided that ego didn't have a place, that was when I think he saw that possibility that I could let her in. Because remember, his fear was that if he gets her in, she was going to shut him out again. So when he saw that she can actually put her guard down, that's when he was like, That's, to me, that's how I see it, though.
See, can I just jump in? Because I think, oh, I'm sorry, AK, I just want to say something. Therapy, I see where man is coming from with the therapy, because even her, when Josiah, when they were in North Carolina, they gave them the whatever it is that he told her that they were going to do, she wasn't okay with it, and she would not talk about Josiah, her relationship with Josiah, to her therapist. So it's when she actually went and said, fuck it, I want him back, and that's when she broke down. So it was actually therapy that got both of them there. It was not, she wasn't that vulnerable. It took a moment, but it was because she finally was able to talk with it to her therapist. And the therapist was like, yeah, I'm not the one you should be having this conversation with. And so she went back to him and she spoke. So I can see where man is coming from with that.
I see her point, but I guess this one will have to agree to disagree.
Therapy got her to break her ego down.
It does. It did get them there, but it was not the ultimate. It was not the straw that broke the camel's back.
Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, therapy or no therapy, right? She's the one who asks for divorce. So it's only right that she's the one who asks for the man to come back inside. You caused it, you're going to fix it. Regardless of whether what transpires in between, right? Kudos to him for actually wanting to do therapy because, because he wanted his kid, even though she might have wanted that, he should do it when she wanted to. But people have different ways of grieving, right? At the end of the day, I look at it as somebody had to be the pillow while the other person had to be the, how can I put it? Yeah, I'm just going to drown myself in sorrows and let somebody else pick up the rest, right? Not to say that she was not, helping in her own way she was, but at the end of the day, C broke it off. C had to bring it back together. If he was the one who broke it off, it was his role to bring it back together. Well, that's just how I see therapy or no therapy, right? And then again too, man, the man had no choice, man. That man was already pussy whipped from day one. You know what I mean? So even if she just came and just opened her legs like, hey, You ready to jump in? He had no choice, man. He would have run in there without even thinking twice. So
He was
all
a
that front,
finished man.
he was a very finished man. All that front he was putting, was just, I guess he just wanted to feel himself. But deep down inside, he knew for a fact that, that's really where he belonged. And yeah, however way they went about it, like T said, spinning the block, um, it worked right at the end. It worked. So we'll discuss that spin the block thing again. But um, T, let me ask you this, right? How does their daughter, Deja, reflect their struggles and healing process?
I think Deja, she was a perfect reflection of Josiah's process, right? Which was not, if you ask me. He did not process anything, and how do I say, that transferred. I think that's the word I'm looking for. That transferred to the daughter, right? And because he did not want to take accountability for his portion in why they got to a place where they had to be divorced, he let his daughter believe what she believed for as long as they were divorced, right? It was not until the end that he had to, again with therapy, right? He was really not the best at communicating his feelings. He's an extremely good father. He's a good man, but his communication was severely flawed. That's how bad it was. It was not until at the end when, therapy had loosened up a little bit, then he could actually put the daughter down and say, hey, okay, I know you've been blaming your mom for this long, and I let you blame her, but it actually is not your mother's fault that we got a divorce. I know that even though you overheard it, well, that's when he found out that she overheard the mom asking for a divorce, but he let her blame the mom for so long without doing anything. So I think she was a perfect reflection of the dad's, I should say, lack of process.
Any supporting ideas or thoughts to T's comment there?
I agree. I agree that it's funny how kids learn by observing their parents. So sometimes parents might wonder where a kid got a character from, but it's almost always from the parent.
True, true. And with that, then, what supporting character left the strongest impression on you, and why?
With him. No, I'm Josiah.
Oh, what you mentioned to it in the start?
Yeah. Yeah, like his willingness to go to therapy, because in the African community, therapy in general is considered a taboo, and Black men see therapy as weakness. Meanwhile, it takes a whole lot of strength to admit that you will try therapy. And one thing I also liked was the fact that Jasmine, I think she had more than one therapist before it worked out. So it's portraying this concept of therapy is not necessarily supposed to fix you. It's just to help you process your emotions. And just because it did not work with one therapist, it doesn't mean that every other therapist will not work. Therapy will not work. And even though Josiah used the excuse that he would go for his son's sake, in the end, he was the one running to the therapy on the highway, heading there, and so that right there was, I was driving and clapping to myself like, this is a book that talks about the Black man in therapy. Yes. So yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of Black men who are actually in therapy. Believe it or not, like a ton. And it's even now thinking about it, it's like, whoa, there's really that many people I know who actually Black men like that who actually go do therapy, and it's a beautiful thing. Hopefully someday it would sway me to want to try it again, but till then, we'll see about that. This is my form right here. So
I think
He's giving Josiah.
Yeah, I think that it has gotten less what's the word? It's no longer as strong of a taboo as it was before. Because I talk to people, even at work as therapists, Black men don't, it's not a thing. Well, product, I would say pre-pandemic. They're just like, oh, that's not the thing. But now I could, you know, count on one hand, or both hands, black men who are going to therapy. But to see, I think this is the first book I'm reading that, it's actually talked about in a way that it was talked about. And it's a good thing.
Mhm. Nice, nice, nice. All right. If you could sit down with one character, who would it be, and what would you ask, Barbara?
Josiah. I have so many questions for him. He blamed the wife for the divorce. He took him a long time to finally admit that he was wrong. And him going to therapy opened up at the beginning of the book. I actually wanted to sit him down that he really could not see that she was struggling. You cannot, like, you could not see that that woman was, like, at the end, he did say yes, it was his fault. But in the beginning, he's like, oh, it was her fault. She left him. It was all about him. He was selfish about his feelings. And for whatever reason, he could not process that she was going through a depression. And that he himself did not process his grief because he lost his son. I think he lost his aunt, who was like his mom. And was it somebody else that died, or was just two people?
He lost both parents as a kid.
Yes, both parents. So he had that grief. And he claims like it was a wife's fault. He was trying and everything else. I actually wanted to, like, I sit down in with this character, like, you really did not see anything wrong with your actions. It was 100% her fault. Because at the end of the book, I still think he thinks it was the wife's fault, though, that everything went south. Which in the fall it isn't, but personally I don't think it's her. So yeah. And secondly, why did she do that? Why did he do that to Vashti? But that's
What did he do to her?
That's just me personally.
You
He
are
didn't do
saying,
anything. I'm just trying
say
to
it.
scare.
You are sitting with Josiah. Tell us what did he do to her?
He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. I just felt bad for the girl. That's it. But I think the grief part was the one that it's more, he didn't see the fact that the wife was struggling, and two, because he said he was on autopilot. Yes, that he was autopilot with going on, so he really didn't process his grief. And he didn't cry. The book, if I'm not mistaken, he did not cry until in this therapist's office. Yes, he didn't cry into that. So I just had a couple of, I want to understand where he was coming from. I want to understand where his mind was at. I want to understand how that was. It that hard for you to just pause? And it's more like he didn't feel what was going on. Like, I just want to understand. Like, it's more like I want to understand where he was coming from. Yeah. Okay.
I think I kind of understood where he was coming from. I'm not justifying the way that he handled the whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Manny, hold on. Before you go further, right? Let me jump in here real quick. You make your point, but let me ask her real quick this. If you were Josiah, right, what would you have done different?
That's a good question. A very good question. I would have processed it. Don't get me wrong. I would have I understand where he was coming from, that he had to pick up.
No, don't understand nothing, right? Just answer the question the way it is. If you are Josiah, what would you do different? We already know you understand. We already know.
I don't know.
What would you do different?
I am not.
So it's easy for you to sit there and say that, oh, he did not he should have done all of this, but then you don't have a solution to what he could have possibly done.
He should have been there with his wife. He should have been there with. He should have been there. Yeah, he should have been there with his wife. I don't know, but he just.
What do you mean there? What do you mean there?
He had a role to play, right? Meaning the house she's living in, she don't got to worry about that. The car she's driving, she don't got to worry about that. All these other things she don't got to worry about, right? But what she got to worry about is one thing and one thing only: wake up, take care of the kids. I'm not denying that she's not going to do all of that, like the loss of the kid and that. But again, we're talking about, we jump into therapy and mental health in a sec, right? One question I really have is there a time limit to grief, right? Is there a time limit to grief, right? And then two, while you're grieving, and you also pause too, I also see that grief is this portion of life, right? And then there's all these other factors that you got to take into account to and not just focus on that one thing? Like, what again could he have done different in your book that would have satisfied his place in this novel?
As I said, I do understand where he was coming from. I get it. He had to pick up where his wife was. He could not be in that space where she was. He cannot get himself to that because he had a restaurant to run. He had a family to feed. And granted, in the book, the restaurant was suffering. It was actually, so he had to do what he got to do. But still,
let me jump to Bob's defense. I think Josiah could have shown more empathy.
Yeah, she didn't even write Grace.
For Jasmine, right? Him having to pick up the work portion, it was a choice that he could make. She did not have a choice whether or not to be depressed. So I feel like he could have shown a little bit more empathy in that aspect. First of all, it's bad enough that he didn't even believe that she was depressed. Let's start there. He didn't even believe that it was depression. So he had that going against him to begin with. So
what if he didn't know what depression looked like?
I know, that's what I'm saying, right? He didn't know. He didn't even know. Even when she said depressed, like he was just like, the fuck is depression? Because the whole mental thing at the beginning of their whole relationship, it was not his cup of tea. But at the end of the day, empathy is really what we can show to people for things that we don't get to understand, right? Or things that we don't have clarity to. I feel like if he had just shown a little bit more empathy, he didn't have to understand what depression was, right? But the little empathy would have gone a long way, I feel like.
So in action, how would he have shown more empathy?
Just understanding that her process is different, right? Yes, they both lost a child. Yeah. But she carried that child to full term.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. They will both grieve the same child, but she would grieve it different. She had postpartum depression for a child she didn't get to carry. That hits way differently, right? I'm not saying her grief was more than his grief, but it was just different in terms of intensity, I feel like. So I feel like if you had just taken a minute to at least consider that portion, you know.
I think the expression part is the part that could have helped, because at some point he mentioned beating himself up for not being with her the night she fell.
Mm-hmm.
The night she fell in the restaurant and then lost the child. He beat himself up for that. He wished he didn't go for whatever training he was born for. But he didn't get to express that until he went to therapy. So what I'm saying is his unlearned experience of not knowing how to process death from childhood was showing out as an adult, where I think she said he never cried. Well, just because he never cried doesn't mean that he wasn't hurting.
Mm-hmm.
What if, like I said, I'm not justifying him not doing something more, but therapy was the thing that opened him to knowing how to process and how to express, because he was hurting too. Maybe, diving into work was a distraction from him processing that.
Absolutely.
Providing for his family was the way that he knew how to take care of that. But because their communication was not, like the book, men are from where? Women are from Mars, men and women. That's why I said for the first how many chapters in the book, I kept wondering why they got a divorce, because it wasn't coming up. But then when it finally came up, I was like, okay, I get it. Because men cannot understand postpartum depression unless you've gone through a postpartum depression class before your wife gives birth and all of that. If it just, maybe she didn't have it with the first two, or she had it, but it wasn't as bad as the third one when she lost a child. So it's the whole, that's why I said therapy was the magic click that just went up.
I do agree with you, Mane, in that if he would have expressed himself, because he did say that at the end, she did verbally tell him that you did not tell me how you felt. You did not talk to me. You shut me out. Right. So she, in her head, him saying that, oh, I beat myself up for not being there. He actually never said that to her. She wasn't aware of that he felt that way. Right. She just thought like, oh, okay, I lost a child and you just left me on my own. That's what she kept saying. You left me on my own. You were not there when I needed you. She had every right to say that. You were not there when I needed you. You left me on my own to grieve the child on my own, everything else. I'm like, okay, so now you cannot come back and you're mad that she's acting that way because you actually did not tell her how you felt. So in her head, she's cooking up stories and it just got to the brim. You understand? So the expression, yes, the expression part, I do agree with that. That if he, because I genuinely think that if he would have told her, I really wish I was there. I wish I did not get on that plane. When you were lying on that floor, I wish, like, the thought, it would have changed. That woman would have felt like, okay, you were there with me. You understand where I'm coming from.
I think to crown it all, like, his problem was he just lacked emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So as much as I might throw empathy in there and I think it was just the lack of emotional intelligence altogether. But I'm glad he found some.
He did. He sure did.
Yeah. We spoke about the impact of professional help towards both of them. Do we need to elaborate more on that? No? Okay. How well does the book then address therapy, the stigma, in relationships, particularly Black community?
Oh, you can tell.
Don't get me started.
First, like, she mentioned that she had asked him to go to therapy before, when especially she said no, he is not going. And so I think T kind of alluded to this earlier on in the recording, when the therapist, when they went to see Kasim's teacher, and Kasim's teacher said the child, he actually needs therapy as well. And the only way Kasim will be open to therapy was if Josiah went. And the fact that he even agreed to it, that's why it was, I think it was like a good chunk of that chapter was on the fact that she was just flabbergasted that he said yes. And even that, it took him a while to, because he went to therapist and was like, why the fuck do I have to tell you my emotions? Like, this makes no sense to me. It doesn't work. Oh, well, I'm going to go. It took him a while to open up, even to his friend. I don't think he told his friend that he was going to therapy. Did he?
I think he alluded to it towards the end, but it was like,
yes, you see that? So it's the stigma that just surrounds it. And there's one thing about this book that I appreciated was that it brought that to light so much, that especially men, Black men, it's very hard when it comes to therapy, that they need therapy. This guy needed therapy from when he was a kid, and it showed up where he became an adult. He needed it, but just because of what he thinks therapy is, he's like, why am I talking to a shrink where I can talk to, I can just talk to my boys and I'm not going to do this. It's not going to be helpful for me. It's not going to do any of things. And so it prevented him from getting the help that he needed, which if he had done earlier on, probably, I don't know, I'm just assuming here, would have saved his marriage or saved a lot of things, because that helps him process his grief. That helps him figure out how to help his wife and his kids. It would have figured him out, because the kids actually did lose both parents, but
a lot of assumptions there. Because maybe if he had gone, you would have probably showed him the reason why I was saying that they should divorce, the reason why that could have been so then. Maybe things would have turned for the worse. Maybe they really needed time apart. Needed time apart to go through things differently before coming back again together, again, spinning the block. But he did not agree to go to therapy because the son was going, it was his proposal that, okay, if the son do it, then he would do it. Just correction to something you made there.
and I agree that there's a thing about timing. There's no knowing that if he had gone in the beginning, it would have saved the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But in what you call it, in retrospect thinking, I thought that maybe just a separation would have, put things in perspective as opposed to going through the whole divorce process. But there is no way of knowing if they had gone just a separation would have turned out like this. But either way, however it happened, if it's a true life story, it turned out great for the book.
Yeah. Let's discuss the couple that sold them the second restaurant in was it New Orleans?
No,
New Orleans, right?
In Charlotte.
In Charlotte. Yeah, I think sorry. What was I going with that? Oh yeah. That couple, they were not married, but they had that ideology of marriage, which transferred to them. How did you guys think about that portion of the book? What did you think? What was the feeling?
It sounded good on the audio.
It sounded good.
Is the book a true life story or what? Because I want to hear it. I want to see it in real life. Because the way this real life is doing, I don't know, but if people agree to, do the partnership thing without marriage and it works for you, hey, to each his own. But I've heard people say that getting divorced is a hassle. But then again, what are the odds that if you agree to do partnership, how is that going to turn out? Especially in it, because when I was listening to that, I was thinking of Chadwick's case. Chadwick Boseman, the
Mm-hmm.
T'Challa guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was married because when he died, his estate and his proceedings in court were wild because he wasn't married. So it's just, yeah, that's where it took me when I heard they were not married. But I'm just like, if it works for you and you like it, which is okay.
Marriage or no marriage, if one person does not create a will, it does not really help the other person much.
Really? So you can have a will if you're not, like, you can have two separate
Definitely.
wills.
It's your last say, right? Before you depart, right? It's what you want. It's your wish, I guess. They say granting wish. Yeah, it's your wish, right? So who can deny that from you? It's what you want. It's what you work for. So yeah.
Yeah, because I think T'Challa did not have a will, based on what I read.
See,
he did not. Yeah.
That goes to that whole argument where people say, "Oh, marriage is nothing but a piece of paper," right? It's a piece. It's actually true, but it's only a piece of paper until you need the benefits that come with that piece of paper, right? Mm-hmm. And if you are deciding, like that couple, the older couple, right, that you're not going to sign that piece of paper, you better structure your life in a way that your partner has unequivocal access to everything, right? Because you will get to a place where your person cannot make medical decisions for you because you're unprepared. It's not written down. Your assets are thrown over the place because you didn't factor them. You didn't factor the kids in, right? So I feel like whatever route a couple decides to go, make sure that there's a solid structure, a law-abiding structure that protects the other person so that they can protect your interests, right? And at the end of the day, what makes a couple work is the partnership, that the effort that they put into that partnership, right? Married or not. So it was interesting to see that they'd been together that long and we're still very much equal partners in every sense of the word. You still have people who get married and they don't make it. So I think at the end of the day, the paper is good, gives you certain benefits, but if that's not your cup of tea, make sure you have structures in place.
Yeah.
So
that though you said something earlier, in real life that happens a lot where you have partners that have been together for this. I think both of them had kids together. The ones that have kids outside, we actually had a very serious case like that at the hospital where the kids were like, Sharon his wife, and so she had lived with him, and she was not allowed to make any medical decisions, and so it was hard. Yeah, so I do agree when you say you have to put certain things in place just to make sure if you get to that point, there's some form of directions like, okay, this is the person that wants to take care from me, XYZ. But I actually had a question, like, because I was curious, like, if they've been together that long, because they clearly loved each other. Mm-hmm. That Carol, they loved each other, they were so in sync. Like, what do they think marriage could have changed? I don't understand. It's like, are you open? Like, are you guys open that you're going to see other people? Because he didn't mention that he wasn't going to see they were not seeing anybody else. They were together. Because there was a question about if it was doing an open relationship or so. Correct? Mm-hmm. Or am I making that up? I think so.
Oh, there was a question and they said, no, they were not.
They were not. They were together. So that's what I was curious about. Like, okay, you guys are together. You're clearly committed to each other. You have kids together. You have a business together. Like, you guys are going to grow old together. So why wouldn't you get married to say that? What did you think marriage was going to change about your union? Because if you guys are not committed to each other, a piece of paper really should not change.
I think they don't want to jinx it. Most people that I've met.
Now, okay, that makes sense.
They don't want to. I think it's more of a superstition than anything. That's my opinion. I don't care what they say, because they just feel like as soon as we sign on that dotted line, it's like, okay, we're giving the universe permission to. It's something like that. Because, like you say, if it's just a piece of paper and you guys are just as committed, signing on those dotted lines should not
Should
change
not
anything.
change. That's my
right.
point. Yes, it should
But
not.
I think, to me, I think it's just a superstitious thing where they say, okay, as soon as people get married, and I've spoken to some married people that I'm close with, and they say, yeah, sometimes it's going as well as until they sign on that dotted line, and then it's like people relax. They don't put as much effort into it anymore. It's like it's locked and loaded now. That's what someone's been married for years actually told me, that if he had the option, he would have just stayed unmarried. But it's like marriage, I don't know, it's like marriage gives you some certain kind of, okay, I got it now, let me chill. There's certain things that you become complacent with. That just comes with it's signed, sealed, and delivered, right? I don't know, I've not been there, but I'm just saying what they told me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I've actually spoken to a couple of married people, and they've said that the marriage was good as committed, non-open relationship until the signing the paper. One guy actually said signing the paper is giving the law control over your marriage. I was like, oh, okay, I can't understand. I don't understand what the whole law thing. But like I said, if two people agree that you're going to be committed, not see each other, and don't want to sign the paper, to each his own. Now, any my neck carry yet.
absolutely.
I actually second that thought.
Can you bother?
Yeah, I mean, well, since we're giving opinions, right? Let me say this. It's easy for a woman to say, sign the papers, right? Without wanting to see from a man's perspective. It's easy. Who are the people always yelling? Why do we need a prenup for? Why do we need it for? Who is the group that yells the most about that? Why is it not easy to sign it then if you so much love? Why is it not easy to sign? Or you flip it. If you so much love, why should I? Right? By the end of the day, this thing is a business. Whether you want to see it as what or whichever you want to see it, drop, go up, count down, love, no love, whichever. In America, it's a business, point blank, period. And as so far that's that, everybody tread lightly. If you like, carry a cocoa head and go and dive in like you think you're diving into a swimming pool like Michael Phelps, and you have gold medal, you pick your sharks. Anyways, we all saying again, to each their own. Prenup or no prenup, you don't put in the work, so it's just gonna fall flat. That's really what it is. At the end of the day, let's not forget that in America, the shit really, it favors women more. So you cannot really blame some of us for looking at it from take a step back and be like, so we really, or should I really? Unless you really absolutely necessary. So, yeah. If any rebuttals, please go ahead.
No.
I used
She said, I see something in your eyes. I think, like, just to mirror that couple that wasn't married, right? That structure I was talking about, Josiah and Jasmine had that, even though they were divorced, right? They had that structure in place to protect each other's interests. So I think, to me, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, right? Married, unmarried, they were still very good business partners. They took care of the kids just as they would if they were married. They handle business. Like, if you did, just imagine. So the couple didn't know that they were divorced. And they were like, oh my God, you guys love each other. And they were like, we're not a couple. She was like, yeah, right. That's how good they worked together. Their structure was solid, like no cap. And they were married and divorced and still had a solid structure. So it's what works. And some, like you say, in America, sometimes the business, some places they have common law marriages, which gives another person just as much right as you would if you signed on the dotted line. So it's whatever works to both parties that they agree. Just don't be mad because your mama pulled the plug and you didn't want them to pull the plug. Now your mama pulled the plug and she has taken your house. Now you're in heaven and you're mad, looking down and you're mad. Well, you should have given your woman, signed the paper. She would have kept you alive. But here we are. So,
Fellas, don't listen to that. Rather the person who brought you into the world than the person who had no business close to bringing you into this world. So think twice again. Be wise.
Okay.
So,
are you gonna marry the person who brought you into the world?
No, you're not. But again, when it really comes down to it, the person who brought you in the world, again, if we are talking about people who with sound minds, the person who brought you in the world, 100% likely will have your back than the person would,
Nah.
when
Mm-mm.
push
I
comes
mean,
to shove.
it
I've
could
seen
be
people
both.
love
It
you
could be as
until
equal.
yeah, I've seen people love you until it's time for assets division.
I
Yeah.
mean, even though our
That's
parents told
why
us that,
that's why I say put your structure in place. Make everybody comfortable. If you want to take care of your mama or your wife or your girlfriend, put your structure in place so that nobody is fighting. Because you would be surprised what possessions will bring out of people. I don't care if it's your mama or you would be surprised. Even me, self, I'll not even lie to you that maybe I don't even trust myself 100%. I might pull that plug. I'm just playing,
That's why I
but
like you.
it's a possibility.
That's you, but no, cannot put any woman above my mom on that one. Impossible.
I mean, they even
Just
tell
cannot.
us that I gave you life, I can take it away.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So
Well, good for you.
again,
I'm
it's up
glad you like.
to
I'm
it's
glad
up
your mama
to
good like that.
it's up to each and every one of us and their mamas, right? However, what kind of relationship and trust you have with them, man, and things like that. So if you don't trust your mama that much, I'm very sorry, but some of us we do. So it is what it is. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about food. Grits, the restaurant in this book, is not just a restaurant; it's a character. I don't know where I got that one from, but yeah, that's not. How does the food? How does the food bridge healing and connection in this story? Um, T, you're the cook here.
I was still thinking, and you were like, see, I was like, oh, um, I think when all else failed, right? Um, them working together was what kept their connection.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they did not have the restaurant working every day, and so they would have grown so far apart that they would not have been able to find their way back to each other. And yeah, that's why they say in PJ say marry a friend. You get why.
Why?
They were very good friends before, even after the divorce, even when they were hurting and everything, they held on to that friendship, which we translated to good business partners. So I feel like the restaurant was the glue that held them together when they didn't even know that they were still connected.
So, being that they're still connected even after they were divorced, then I heard somebody mention emotional intelligence.
That
If they
was
were
me.
still so, if they're still so, oh yeah, Therese mentioned emotional intelligence, right? If they're still so connected after divorce and, with the business going and all whatnot, and the love is still there, you still would hang on to emotional intelligence?
Yes, because
Okay.
contr- let me not say it. Contrary to popular belief, right? Emotional intelligence is not just knowing how to deal with people, right? It's being self-aware, knowing when you're going through phases, knowing when you're where you shouldn't be, actually finding yourself emotional. That's a whole part of it. So the fact I used that because Josiah didn't even know where he was mentally, emotionally. He had no clue that he had grief buried from when he was a child. He had no clue. So all those things, that's why I said emotional intelligence. You can be very well connected. You can be well spoken. You can have all these things going and lack emotional intelligence. It's a taught skill. It's not something that you're born with. It's taught and it's learned. So yeah, I would still say that the emotional intelligence was lacking, even though they were very well connected.
Okay. Keep my curiosity real quick, right? Let's
Mm.
say both of them got into depression the way she did. Then what?
What do you mean then what?
Both of them got into depression the way she did. Both of them stayed in bed. Both of them cried their eyeballs out 24/7, day in, day out. What would have happened to their businesses? What would have happened to their kids and all whatnot?
Their kids would have suffered in a way. Probably mama would have had to move in to help out. He would have gone down south. Um, but at the end of the day, even as much as I say he was lacking emotional intelligence, he did what needed to be done, right? In a partnership, right? It is let me just it is rare in my experiences and in observation. It is rare to see two people first express whatever phase they're going to the same way, right? That is very rare. And so sometimes you have to stand 10 foot down so the other person can afford to crumble. I think that's a partnership at the end of the day, right? So rarely you would see two couple express grief the same way. I have never seen in my 30 something years on earth. Now, if that happens, man, it's gonna be a shit show, unfortunately, but that's rare. And they still crumble, even though they even express differently. So, yes, I give him kudos. That doesn't take away from him, right? The fact that I say he was lacking emotional intelligence doesn't take away from him that he handled business. But sometimes when shit hits the fan, they would have figured out something.
Right.
They already had Vashti there, so Mama could have come and helped me. Some could have happened. I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions.
Does the fact that he lacks the word emotional intelligence change who he was or what he had to do to protect his family? It doesn't change that. It's just he did not have that aspect of himself. So he wasn't emotionally available to deal with her, to handle her. He had to do what he got to do. So if anything, they'll tell you that he chose to be selfish. He chose to, not selfish is the wrong word, but he chose to do what he thought deemed fit for him to keep his family afloat. He had to pick up the pieces, and so he did not have time to sit and process everything else. But even though he did what he did, it does not mean that he still did not have that emotional side of it, or the empathy, or the grace. Actually, what he still had it, but he shut it off and did what he had to do. So he had it, but whatever, he took care of business. But I mean, it's still there.
I see a case sit down. Let me dumb what I'm saying down. Not for you, but let me bring it to the most basic way that I'm thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said emotional intelligence is a learned and an acquired skill, right? The fact that I don't know how to cook has nothing to do with me being a good mother. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, will it affect that sometimes my kids might not have a home cooked meal, my family will not? Absolutely, but that doesn't in overall take away. It has its deficiencies. That's the simplest way that I can put it. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? He's still looking at me there. That's like,
I don't know why you're trying to correct me like I was puzzled. I'm looking at the next question and like structuring the
because
next
I asked the question and you didn't answer, then you just gave a blah. That's why I was asking, like, am I making sense?
Yes, you're making sense.
Can I add something to the question you asked, T? Okay. About the food tying in. Sorry, I'm probably gonna butcher it, but I'm trying to paraphrase it. But there's one part where the book resonated with me, where Jasmine took Anne Bird, I think that's her name, recipe. That was another part of it that it was very, very vital. I think it was very heavy because, if anything, that drew Josiah more to him, because the things about her that he missed, like her food and the fact that she found her recipes, and
that stuffing, that was the problem.
Stuffing. She cannot cook, as the book says, she can't cook for shit. But she followed the recipe to. Yeah, they thought it was Vashti that made it, which kind of hurt Vashti's feelings, but hey, she went in, followed the teeth, and he brought it because it was something that she was learning to do. She said, and her reasoning for keeping it is that she wanted to keep Bert's memory alive in the family, because during the holidays she cooked, and that part of she was still in there. And then it was also Anne Bird's cake that brought her and her daughter back. The first time her daughter came back and told her thank you, or showed her some form of love, or was kind to her. So I think it was a very monumental part of the book. I actually enjoyed that. It resonated so much with me. I love that she did that, but that food somehow was able to bring them together. I don't know if that makes sense. And even the Thanksgiving dinner, it brought all of them. And I don't know, the other guy was Birds. The guy that they kept saying that
that's what I feel like. What's his name?
What was his name? Man, I wanted to ask, like, they could have expanded that character, because I wanted to know, but that it was her cooking and that food that it kind of brought them together, and they were expressing themselves and they were just talking. So I wanted to just add that to that part.
No, absolutely, I agree.
I actually admire Jasmine for telling Josiah that it was okay for Vashti to join them for Thanksgiving dinner. I was
She's
like,
a better
oh,
person
God.
than me. That's all I'll say.
Exactly what I thought. I'm like, no, you make Thanksgiving at your house, I'll come over. But you ain't coming over. But that's just me.
That's what tapping into. Okay. Um, let me keep that violence aside real quick.
So bring
Uh,
it up, bring it
No, no,
up.
no. Bring it up. Bring it up. Bring it up.
I just feel like a woman in her essence, in her power, in her ability to understand what her powers are, that's what she would do. You know what I mean? Because she knows how to steer a room, navigate a room. She does not need permission or whichever. She does not need anybody's influence. Matter of fact, she invites everything in and say, hey, regardless of what, I know why I stand in this. But like she owns it, she hounds it, and she knows what her, her, her I don't know, her powers are, for lack of a better word. Let me put it that way. But
And
anyways, that's just me.
and
I think that was
I see
Jasmine's
where
case
you're
though.
going.
She
Yeah, I think
invited
that's why she
Vashti by
invited them.
mistake.
Yes.
It
Not
was
by
a
mistake. I think she wanted to
It
prove
was
that she
intentional.
has control over Josiah. Not
Mhm.
so much that that's how
Because
I
she,
interpreted it, but that's
she
okay.
had told Josiah that she was comfortable. He was okay with her being with Vashti. And I mean, Vashti, she had come and seen Vashti around her kids. Her kids were exposed, they were dating. So the kids had to be open to that. And that was her opening herself, like, we can see other people. So she invited her to her home to let the girl know, like, yeah, yeah. I mean,
That was an excuse to make it sound like
it
she
wasn't an
was
excuse,
okay, but
but
she wasn't okay.
I don't
because
see
you bring that man over and have him drooling over you and his woman is sitting right there like
that part. I mean that, but that part you cannot blame her though. She can't. Would
I
she?
mean I know that, but she knew
That's
that,
Josiah.
you know.
But I don't think she dressed or looked cute for she now. It was just she just was her normal self, and Josiah is still in love with his wife, with his ex-wife.
She
And
was to, let's not forget that they were in silent competition, the both of them, even though they were divorced, trying to act like that's that
They
ego
found
piece I was
somebody else to
talking
do it.
about, right? Trying to act like, okay, I'm not that hurt. I don't want you that bad. I'm not that. Remember the first time she saw Vashta with her kids, she almost flipped the whole house off the foundation. But she had a point to prove because she had ran her mouth and said she was okay with it. But she was far from, both of them were far from okay from each of them seeing somebody else.
Yeah.
So that fact that she was like, I'd rather die than be wrong. And she did not want Vashti because when her friends asked her that, are you sure about? She's like, well, you know, I ain't got nothing to prove and invited, but left. I think feel like if left to if things were differently, she would not have had Vashti over her hands.
but she and Vashti just did not click, and she did not understand why, because she said she and the book, if you read the book earlier on, she said Vashti kind of like used to just avoid her. It's like they didn't, that connection was not there, and Jasmine couldn't figure out what was it. But she kind of started putting two and two together because of Josiah's mannerisms, the way he laughed and the way she giggled and she blushed and everything else. And she's like, she's looking at him like the way I look at him. So something's up. So when they came to the house and she almost flipped out, she didn't know that they were together. He didn't tell her, but she kind of figured it out. And so when she saw that, that's how she's like,
yeah.
But
but
that's why I think she invited her over so that she could see face to face that she and Josiah are still at the hip. So it wasn't her trying to be all, yeah,
Lady
you're my
Labelle.
girl, my husband. Nah, that's not
Was
what
it
it was.
how was it how invited them, or was it the mother?
no,
No, she was the one.
it was the one, she was the one that did. The mother just
And
come.
even the mother was kind of surprised because
Yeah.
that same day when he came to pick up some kind of a dish, and the mother sent him upstairs.
Yeah, that she was knowing that she was
I like the mother
that
though.
mama is
Exactly.
the
So
MVP.
no, the mother was looking at them like, you invited her here for what? But I guess it was to say that they see join at the hip. So
I mean, she makes that part is like the mother, because everybody else saw it. Like girl, we know you're
Everybody
struggling.
else.
Yeah,
Let me
like
ask you guys this, right? Do you guys think kids are good enough reason to want to make things work?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I did
sorry,
not catch it.
Are kids a good enough reason to want to come back from divorce?
No.
no. You can be an amazing father, but a horrible, horrible partner. But you are like you and your kids is your life. But as somebody in a relationship, nah. So
This one is sexist, y'all, by the way, if you guys never knew. This one is very sexist, if you guys did not know. It's very. But that's besides the point. Let's move on. Like, there's no, ask some questions just to see if you ever say she. No, it's always a he.
No, it's
If you
because
never
you
notice,
asked it. It's because you asked it. But yes, it always went to the guy. But I was answering it. I was
let's go
answering
back
it to
at
you.
reverse. Even when they ask you about a she, you always somehow find a way to bring it to he. Even
Okay.
if it was asked about a woman, you find a way to bring it to he. So the question we all have is, do you have problem against men? Because every time something is asked, I've noticed it's always he. But hey, what's my own here? I'm just reporting
I
the
know. Let me
news.
just for the listener. That's the point. I was actually, I was actually the
It's a
question.
feminist.
It's like,
Yeah, that's really what it is. But yeah, the mama. Any other characteristics about the mama? Because I thought the mama was like, icing on the cake in the book. But
I mean, she was wise, she just said all people can see what she cannot see standing. She knew what she was doing.
I loved how she loved Josiah though.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Yeah, I loved how she loved Josiah. Even though she was a son-in-law, she had a relationship with his mother. She understood him, how she spoke to him, how they communicated. I love that part of it. It's one of those things like it's like when you get married to a family, bring somebody. Yeah, you're married to my daughter, or okay, African. Let me not say you're married to my son, but sorry, you're married to my daughter, but you're still my son, and I love you just like I love my own kids. Yeah, so I love that part about it. I was like, I like that. Even though they were divorced and she did not agree with it, she still treated him as he would. She did not change. She did not because she's at that point. I think she smacked him and said, "You're too old." Like that motherly thing was still there, and I love that even after the divorce. I love that. So
Yeah.
hey man, all I know is whether we are ex or not exes, if me and your mom ever had a relationship, I'm keeping that one. The ex can go, but the mom stays. That's just that.
That's my mother. Having my brother's exes flood into the
Yeah,
house.
just saying.
I mean, I'm not losing, especially if it's a good relationship. I don't know. It's tricky to navigate. You have to have some kind of
but why do I gotta stop being friends with your girlfriend if you broke up?
because people say that.
Yeah, please. I
I
know my
mean,
brother.
it also depends on how the breakup went. If it was an ugly one, the big
Listen,
one.
I don't care if he was ugly. Once I've put my love somewhere, as long as that love is intact,
Did you
don't
come and help me
stress
from
me.
it?
Do not stress me. I was sitting quietly, you brought this person into my life. Don't stress me.
So okay, real quick then. Let's rewind. Let's rewind. These are like not to elaborate, just quick hitters. So, most powerful emotional sin of the book. What would you say it is, man?
Hmm. Most powerful emotional scene of the book. Damn, I can't think. It's been a
I
while.
have one where
Go ahead.
her Coco head threw the necklace in the pond and then went back looking
Oh
for it.
yeah, that.
What's wrong with you?
It was what, New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
Christmas, and it was cold. How
the
can I
cold.
forget
Yep,
that? I
yep.
threw it with all the intention in me. I'm like going there to look for that. But she had helpful friends too. So hey.
They didn't even know what they were looking for.
I
So
love that. I did. Listen, I actually that part I actually loved it. Her friends they didn't know what they're looking for, but they jumped in. It's like, okay, bitch, what are you looking for? All right, let's find it. Then you can explain whatever afterwards. So
Yeah.
nah, not in that water. I think that stores we could buy a new one, please. What does it look like? What is this shit? Let's go order a new one there to jump in
Don't
that cold
forget she
water.
threw that necklace with her ring.
he had her ring, the wedding ring on it.
Yeah, she
No,
threw it
no
with
problem. It's gone.
Yeah, you
We
can
start
also
afresh.
he ended up giving her a new ring, right? That had a
We start
inscription what
afresh.
said the wheels fall off. It was a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So
Was a
I
real
was
there.
like, shoot, I'm not jumping in cold. I don't like the cold to start with. So if I throw something in cold ice, best believe I'm not looking for it.
That's why it was an emotional decision, right? She was not thinking clearly.
Yeah, I guess.
Just like the whole
Oh,
divorce thing, which I feel like she wasn't thinking clear. She would have been let us have a separation.
Yeah, she
But
was
like I
not
said,
thinking clearly.
it was like a quick thinking on her feet.
yeah, they turn around and be somebody else's problem. Anyways, most transformative moment, man. I'm sorry, T.
Oh shoot! I'll deviate from the main characters. I'll go to Soledad and her husband. I think it was a New Year's party or something. They were at a party and she was talking about launching her event planning business. And first of all, that man never believed in her and never saw her beyond being a housewife, taking care of the kids, running errands for them, and had the nerve to be cheating on her with his assistant. All the while putting this woman down. So to me, the most transformative moments was when her friends were encouraging her that she's really good at this. She should make it into a business. And this person said, I'll help you with setting up your website. I'll help you with this and this. And the man was like, okay, well, I don't see how all that is going to be into a business. Plus, you have kids to take care of. And the girls actually jumped in and said, they are old enough now. Mama can do what she liked. To me, that was like, wow. And you can tell that solely that she felt like she drank Red Bull and she got wings. You know, I don't know, I couldn't see, but I was like imagining I was watching the movie and her face lit up. So yeah, I'll take that one.
Nice, nice, nice. And then Barbara, best character growth revelation.
I think we spoke about Josiah already. Josiah from the beginning of the book and Josiah at the end of the book, you could see the quote was a completely different man, for the fact that we kind of like alluded to this throughout the whole episode of how his vulnerability like really came out and showed how he was able to open himself and he's able to feel, and he was actually able to grieve the loss of his aunt, well, his mother, and the son. Henry was the kid's name. Yes, Henry. He changed from the beginning to the end with two completely different men. I mean, the same person, but emotionally is what I'm saying. He evolved emotionally to somebody different. It took a process. I liked how they actually explained in the book the process it took to get there. So yeah, that was one. I had a few.
No, we just need one. Thank you, Alec. Okay. Hot seat question. Hot seat question. Oh, by the way, Manny, your question was, is this a real life story? No, it's fiction, but some parts of it was inspired by real life experiences and emotions, they say. Back to you, Barbara. Which character needs that one therapy session the most?
Which character needs the one therapist section the most?
Session the most, yeah.
I would have loved to see Deja, actually. Yeah, I'd have loved to see her. Because from the way Deja was acting out or anything, she did say something that was very, she said she lost, that they lost, it's like they lost they lost their brother, but they also lost their mother, they lost their father. And she really, as a child, never got to process that. She felt she had to protect her little brother, because whenever her parents had a fight, they thought the kids were still did not hear, but she became the parent. She shielded her brother from that, because that's what he said. He had to go to the room to sleep with her to feel better. And so she was such a young person to harbor all that much anger and frustration. She didn't know how to express it. And it came out in her. She wasn't throwing tantrums. She was not being the way she was, because she was just, I mean, she's a teenager, but she was actually processing something. So I think she actually was one character that they should have taken her to therapy. She did need that.
Okay. And then T,
The whole
real quick
family
here.
ended up in therapy, right? At the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole,
Really?
yeah, they all, yeah.
Oh.
The whole
She
family.
did therapy because the little brother was doing it too. So
Yeah.
she decided to go do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think she asked to try therapy. Deja.
Okay. T, real quick. What will you tell Yasmin or Josiah as their therapist? One thing you tell each one?
Separately or together?
Separately, each person.
Based off the story, I think I would tell Jasmine to not, I think I would tell her to not process grief by herself, because I feel like because she thought that she carried the child, you know, she had more to lose, if that makes sense. She lost more than Josiah did. It's not necessarily true, because they both lost a child. Now, the intensity of how she was feeling was different because she carried the child. But I feel like if she had even at least welcomed him into that grief process and not gone her own way, minus her depression, right? That was a missed opportunity for both of them to have to walk through that as a couple while still dealing with it individually. Josiah, I will tell him.
Did I just hear you say that she's the one who caused the disarray before even asking for divorce?
Eh?
Did I just hear you say that she's the one who like started the pushing away and then came and added it with the divorce? Is that what you just mentioned by that line there?
No, but I said that she internalized the grief as though she was the only person who lost a child. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, got it.
That's why I said minus her postpartum depression, right? Mm-hmm. Which she had no control over. But that's what I'm saying. And then Josiah, I'll tell him to be open-minded. I feel like if he had been open-minded, at least about therapy in the beginning, maybe it's a big maybe would have fast-tracked things for them. But that was one of their non-negotiables. They agreed on everything else except when it came to therapy, mental health, and all that stuff. He was not having it. But the moment he decided to be open-minded, even with distance, it unlocked wonders for them.
Gotcha. And then, Mane, if you could, summarize that with one thing for both of them, not individually, but both of them as a couple. What would you say as their therapist?
Well, this might sound like a cliche, but communication, right? Just being open to express how you feel and listen to understand as opposed to listen to respond. But sometimes when we listen to respond, we don't understand exactly where somebody is coming from. But therapy got them to where they got to, and I'm guessing they would see therapy as a way to help them journey forward. However they decide to go, is just stay as partners or go. Did they decide to go back to getting married? Because I know he gave her a ring. I don't remember if they decided to go back to getting married. But
however, right now they've moved in together, so we'll see. Hopefully a sequel come through.
So yeah, however they decide to proceed, at least they've had a glimpse of the benefits of therapy. So
do you think this can be a movie?
Yes. Yeah. It would be a great movie. Because there was this book, when I was listening to it, I remember this book, I can't remember the book, but the book was made into a movie and it sounded similar to this without all the intensity. But it would be a great movie.
Don't go for Ashanti and Nelly are leaving it.
Good one. I was just going to ask that. What characters would play this on big screen? So I guess we'll go with that one, right? Then what dish at grades would symbolize healing or love, Barbara?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
What dish at grades would symbolize healing or love? If you can remember the menu.
I can't remember the menu, but grits.
Grits. What was the one that Vashti did that everybody loved? That was the one that brought.
It was a lemon cake. I think.
That the lemon cake that was at home. It was not the.
The limoncello was for
limoncello
birthday by.
But yes, that was made at home.
You say Vashti put it where?
Was it avocado something?
Vashti's signature, like she had a few signature. The ribs, one was the ribs that Kasim loved. There was another one that I don't know. I don't remember the menu off by heart, so I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. We've come down to the to the last beat of this segment. Let's catch some more fun. You know what I mean? Let's catch some more fun. So, in less than 30 seconds, or if you may try, like Barbara, 1 minute is your max. Okay.
Are you gonna put the timer up?
No, I've stopped watch. When you hear ping, your time is up. Okay. How did this book change your view on either love, grief, or healing, or all three of them together? Between 30 seconds to 1 minute. See, go.
Hey, I thought you said Barbara Sawos. No, Sawos.
I
No,
know
no, no.
he was saying that I should not talk too much.
Oh,
He was
dear
calling
God.
me out.
Okay, restart my time.
Yeah. Go.
Show me that it's an unending work. All of it. Good, the good that we feel, the bad that we feel, all of it is work. That's it.
That's it. Oh wow. Okay. Vale, go ahead.
Sorry.
Um, one thing that came to mind as the book came to an end was that everything in life is a journey, not a destination. Is you never, quote unquote, you never really arrive at a perfect marriage, or you never really stop grieving. It gets easier or lighter over time. And love of marriage is harder than the media makes it look like, which I already knew that, but to see that being brought alive in a book with with black characters and all of that was good to see the struggle and how in the end both parties were willing to work to get it back. So it's a journey, not a destination.
Yes. Barbara.
There's this saying, they say love is kind, patient, understanding. It's like a long thing that they give. In this book, but the fact that it highlights that, but also switched it and said grief is kind, it's patient, it's understanding. We process grief very differently, and I think grief somehow put a dent in these people's relationship. And so this book highlights that part, that when they say love is that, grief is exactly that.
Excuse me, sir. I think I used 10 seconds. Can I throw something else in there?
No, go ahead,
Real
please.
quick?
Go ahead.
To me, the book redefined what happily ever after is. That's the perfect example of what happily ever after is.
You need to learn how to use
Question.
that.
Yes. Mani, go ahead.
So are you saying that because they came back together, they'll be happily ever? There will not be any speed bumps in the
No,
love journey?
on the contrary, it's not the end that was their happily ever. It's their end. Like you said, it's a journey, right? It's the whole thing that is the happily ever after. Going through it together. Like in general in movies or books, they'll be like, oh, they loved each other, and then they had a fight, and then this one came and apologized. There was none of that. There was blood, sweat, and tears for real in this story. I know it's fictional, right? But it's letting us know that happily ever after takes blood, sweat, and tears. To get to that place where you want to be happy with somebody is blood, sweat, and tears. That's the best way I can put it. And this book exemplifies it, right? That you're willing to put your ego down, get the highs and the lows, open your mind, do things that you're not willing to for the sake of. It's a whole lot of work for happily ever after, as opposed to, fate will do what fate does, but
yeah, and I also think that they have
and it doesn't get easier.
It
doesn't. They say you get this. It doesn't get any easier. You just get to fight more battles. That is happily ever after.
I'm like,
I gotta ask the Slay Queen this question. But sorry, go ahead, Baba.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say in the book that the people, to just add to what T said, the life going in together and everything else, the separation. Vashti and the mayor, them getting brought into the mist and then them having to leave. I think that's something that is very applicable to nowadays into real life. Where you you have people come together, they separated, they meet other people, the other people are still in love with each other. The struggles that both those two people, those outside people felt, which I love how there was communication in the sense, but it was just something that's that this applies to real life. I think everybody goes through this. And so I just had to mention that.
See, that's what I tell people. I say, if you go and sit somewhere and you start telling all these whole, I'm just here to catch cruise, not for, it's for the birds. So you meet an amazing person, you will fall in love and you will break your heart. The way to a wife is sufficient. If you don't have your power, don't try it. That's what Vashti said, right? And she's just here, she don't want something serious. When she was crying in the night and sliding down the wall, nobody sent her.
But let me ask you this question, right? All of us here believe in God, correct? We all believe in God, correct? So at some point within the year, you have to renew your faith, right? So what makes you think that it's okay that you can renew your faith in God, but you cannot renew your love faith too? You think broken hearts just magically came from nowhere? It's a renewal of faith too. It's to show that maybe you need to change denomination, or maybe your denomination you are experiencing, the beliefs in the wrong way. I don't know. But if I look at it the wrong way, I mean bad way, positive way to say, hey, maybe just like not this couple in this book, but some other couple, that divorced and went their separate ways, or they tried and came back and they realized that it will work and they went their separate ways. Maybe it was faith that was that way, and not just look at the broken heart. Maybe it was really, your God saving you from possible death, somebody killing you or whichever. I know that's extreme, but maybe you could also vision it that way and pick up the pieces and put it together and move on in peace, or not. I'm just saying, but again, broken hearts are not always bad, so I just wanted to say that.
There was this therapist I was talking to where we're just having a conversation about the things that we have as a healthcare provider. You have to renew your license, so you take continuing education to renew your license every so often. So as an occupational therapist, I have to do that every 2 years. So this therapist was like, what if there was a marriage certification renewal? Would that decrease the rate of divorces? Meaning that therapy, when you sign your marriage, whatever, you're also signing to do continuing education to renew your marriage license every so often. That way, you can figure out the glitches in the system. If the glitch is, lack of emotional intelligence, you can take a course in that. If it's poor communication, you can take a course in that, as opposed to going years and boom, you what they call those things, differences that you cannot.
Unreconcilable differences.
I think you need to add one
couple.
word.
What?
Honestly, I think you need to add one word, right, to something that will make it a lot better to what you mentioned, which is, like when people get married, say for better, for worse. They should add one word, if for better, for worse, you decide.
I like
if
that.
For better, for worse.
And there's this lawyer on Instagram where he said, I only love you as long as you respect me. And okay, yeah, he used this Bible verse. He's a Christian lawyer. He said that whole concept of love is unconditional. It's only between God and us humans and mothers and their children. Every other love is conditional. And I kind of agree with him, because for me, if I feel disrespected or there's infidelity or there's whatever, will I still love you? Yeah, but I don't love the acts. So in some way, shape or form, in that sense, love is conditional. Like when people in abusive marriages, they're like, no, this is not going to work. That my love is conditional on the fact that you don't abuse me. But anyway, digress.
I feel like couples who work do that in an unofficial capacity, right? You wake up every day or every so often and you take stock of where your relationship is. And that's what renewal of the vows is supposed to be. It's not a party.
But yeah, it happens like 5-10 years down the road, and in 1 or 2 years, some people are ready to burn each other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? That's what they're like, we'll be married 2 years, let's go and renew our vow. You wear a wedding dress and have 17 bridesmaids. That's not, to me, that's not what renewing of the vows is. It's not you dressing pretty. It's actually you rededicating, like revamping your marriage.
Yeah, but there should be some kind of like course, some kind of retreat for you to go to before you just go resign or whatever, however the renewal about takes place.
That would be nice.
I have a question though. I have a question. I'm sorry. You guys are talking about it. I'm like, why don't just because you're married doesn't mean you stop dating your partner?
Yes.
No. But that's why most.
No, I don't mean in the sense, but I say yes. That's
where the issue is. That's where the problem is. I'm like, because you're married does not mean you'll stop being in a relationship. You keep dating your partner, keep going on dates, keep doing what you're supposed to do. Like,
I know it's easy to say that when you're single, right? No shade. I'm not trying to throw shade on you.
I caught the shade.
No, I was not.
Go on. I call it, go on.
It's easy to say that when you're single, as opposed to when you're married, right? You have all these new responsibilities thrown at you. You're trying to balance your life. You're trying to balance a new dimension of life. You have a whole other person that you're now directly responsible for. You have your family. You are trying to balance this dynamic. Not God forbid, but kids get thrown into the mix early. You're not ready for, and sometimes it's not. I don't feel like sometimes it's intentional. That's why sometimes it's couples struggle when they start having all these new things, because it's like it's a juggling act, right? It's not sometimes until the kids are a little bit grown and then they start finding themselves back to each other, right? So I feel like sometimes it's not intentional. It's just, okay, you know what? All these new things are coming in now. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not like I can leave you and go to my house. Try planning a date when you're mad at somebody and you gotta sleep right next to them. You can't go nowhere.
Because I've spoken to quite a number of guys, and they're like, we're married, we're in it for the long haul. So, but the people who are in partnerships, it's almost like a conscious thought to make the partnership work. So there's some kind of like, to their defense, the people who are in the whole partnership with no paper for the marriage, they're like, it's a conscious effort to make it work. As opposed to once you sign that paper, it's like we are in it for the long haul. So getting out of it will not be as easy as just signing
You
a date. So,
fumble, you're taking the next person.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. You guys leave comments at the bottom. Let us know what you think. For the married folks, let us know what you think. For the unmarried folks, let us know what you think. You know, yeah, it's important for us to have these conversations because your experiences might teach me something that I would need to know for the nearest future, or something that I would not need to know for the nearest future, but then I would like to read again at the same time, just because I like to read. So do your thing. Leave that comment at the bottom. Be whether you're married or not. We greatly appreciate it. Um, I don't know. Wait, do we all answer that question? I think we're done, right?
Mhm.
We're done from here, right? We're done from here.
Next book.
Oh yeah, next book, next book. Who got next book? I think Barbara mentioned next book or something.
The next book is titled Nearly All the Men in Lagos Are Mad by Kuku Damilare.
Why did you pick this book?
Because it's funny. I get it was recommended to me by a couple of friends and they said it's gonna make you laugh. It's a very funny book. So, and I think it's everybody on this, all of us here are Africans, and I think we can relate to some of the things that they say in there. It's just gonna remind us of home and just the conversations that we have in our community with each other. I think it's gonna just bring that up. So it's just been something that's gonna make us laugh.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Not to be the person to shit on our own. Sansan. I mean, to pour Gary on our own Sansan. I mean, Sansan on Gary, but I just realized that we've probably had a few Nigerian authors already, but not the Cameroonian one. So something we should look at before somebody come and sound or something.
We had Behold the Dreamer.
Is it Cameroonian?
Yeah.
Oh, true. Wait, we did that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, German. Okay, cool. Well, anyways, I tried. Sorry.
I mean, I don't really. Well, I guess we can ask the listeners to recommend Cameroonian authors.
They are. We'll find
or where we post the snippets on Instagram. We can see if you have any Cameroonian author.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Any final thoughts, conclusions, questions, comments?
I just have one. Reflex book. No such thing as halfway.
No such thing as halfway. Yep.
Yeah, he forgot his own brother's book. My God.
I mean, the book is such a short read.
Really? How many pages is it?
It's I have it somewhere down here. I don't have to find it, but it's a very short read. So
at least it's not as short as Chimamanda's little book that we read. So
yeah,
it's a short read.
It's a short read. It's a quick read. So
we'll put that down for next year.
We can put it down for next time, or we can do it before we do Nearly All Men in Lagos Are Mad. So just
sounds good.
Next year.
Well, you guys got the next read. Go ahead and read that. To join us for our next book club if you are up for it, which I know you are. So greatly appreciate it again for joining us on this one. This episode is sponsored by West Central SITM Podcast, or District Collab. So if you find them on both platforms, don't be self or surprised or whichever. Just follow, like, comment, subscribe, whichever. We greatly appreciate it. It does not cost you a thing. It's free. Don't be a hater. You could be a hater. It doesn't matter. But just smash that button. Thank you. And again, my co-host today, Barbara, T, and Mane, and I'm Uncle AK. Thank you again for joining us. Catch you on the next one next month. Grab the book, read it, be prepared for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.